Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ruben Arundel and this is Dotted Diary, where we talk about personal finance, self-development and more. So in today's video, we will be talking about budgeting for students. I know there are many videos on YouTube concerning this topic, but what I realize is that the majority of them are more focused at above average earners. But what about students? I think that many of the guidelines that are normally used by many YouTubers, for example, cannot be applied to students. How can you use the 50-30-20 rule on someone whose total expenses is above 50%? It does not fit. So I decided to show how I would approach budgeting as a student based on the experience that I've gained over the years, so that you guys don't have to make the same mistakes. And also you guys can also use my tricks that I learned also throughout that journey. When I think about budgeting, there are a few things that come to mind. 1. Bills. 2. Savings. 3. Unexpected expenses. And 4. Investments. But we're gonna leave 4 out for now because I do believe that if the first 3 aren't in order, then it doesn't even make sense to invest. So firstly, everyone should have a financial overview that they keep track of continuously. And you could do this with Excel. You could use an app, for example. There are many budgeting apps online that you can download, or even in your notes. Some people even write them down. But it's very important and crucial for you to keep track of your expenses and also pay attention to if you are within your budget still at all times. Secondly, what many people do and what I did in the past also, I looked at food as a variable expense. So when I got paid, I ate a certain way, and throughout the month as my money decreased, so did my eating habits. And this is actually not a smart idea. You should see your food as a fixed expense. So now I will show you guys how I personally approach putting together a budget or a financial overview. And a student in the Netherlands gets from the government a monthly maximum student loan of about 1,100 euros. So I will be using this as an indicator to track the cost to show you guys how I would budget that amount. In my days when I was a student, for example, like last year I graduated, it was less than this. But accounting for inflation and also increase in certain expenses, it's around this amount now. Okay guys, as you can see, I have an Excel file here open. And as you can see, I have income, I have fixed expenses, and I have income before VE, which means income before variable expenses. This is a quite simple format that you can use. You can even make it more extravagant if you want, but I thought, it doesn't have to be extravagant for it to be good. You can literally make a simple format like this, for example, to keep track of your expenses. So I'm going to use this one. So as I mentioned earlier, the income comes from student loans. So it's going to be student loan. And then it will be a total of 1,100 euros. As I mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is what you receive. This is your income, technically, that you'll be using to pay your bills and to do everything that you need to do. So first, fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that are reoccurring. So you get them every month, monthly, and they usually are around the same amount every month. Firstly, rent. Rent is your first fixed expense. As a student, you have a smaller budget, you don't have that much income. I would definitely recommend for students especially to live in a shared apartment with other students. Firstly, you have that social aspect, so you have people to spar with about school stuff and to talk to. You also share your expenses. Usually a room within a student house is quite cheap compared to having a studio or an apartment. So I know someone that is currently in a student room, for example, and they pay around 380 a month. In euros. And I will put this whole column already. Yes, I think that's easier. And next we have insurance. This is especially very important if you are an international student. It's very important to also have a very good health insurance, because anything can happen to you and you would want to get the best care that you can get. And also you want dental care, you want to be able to get physio if you have any problems, or if you want to see a psychologist. That also is usually in your insurance package. So I would say a good price for an insurance, especially in the Netherlands, would be like 120 euros. Then we have utility costs. What I mentioned earlier, if you are renting a room, usually the utility cost is within the price of the rent. So you as a student won't have utility costs. But if you're renting a studio or if you're renting an apartment, this is something that you will have to pay. So keep that in mind. So in this case, we won't have to pay utility costs. Then you have your subscriptions. For example, your phone subscriptions. This is what you pay for internet on your phone, for example, and also to be able to call. And this is around 35 euros or 32. It's 35 euros approximately. And as I mentioned earlier, your food should be considered as a fixed expense. You should know monthly how much you want to spend on food. I usually eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's 3 meals, right? So to me, my budget is usually 60 euros a week. So I'm gonna apply my budget to this because I eat quite good at that budget. So I do believe that a student can also manage to eat quite good at that budget, which would leave me at 240 per month on food. Okay, and now we have our total expenses here, right? And what I can do now is literally, I will use a formula in this case to deduct the expenses from the income. Do it one by one, minus your rent, then you take out your insurance, then you take out your phone expenses, and then you take out your food expenses. And then you would be left back with 325 euros after your fixed expenses, right? So then what happens now, you have your variable expenses. What I see as variable expenses are, for example, your fund budget, and I also see your miscellaneous budget falls under variable expenses. What's a fund budget? To me, a fund budget is a budget you have, for example, if you want to go and cut your hair, if you want to go to the movies, you want to go buy a drink, or you want to go do stuff with friends, right? But keep in mind, if you're getting an income of 1,100, then your fund budget is not that flexible. So you have to really be careful in what you spend your money on. So you have to really consider that. But in this case, for example, the fund budget, right? I would say from this total, the first thing you should do is put on the side to save. So I would first say your savings should be the priority. And if I had a budget like this, right? I would have been saving, for example, 100 euros a month. And that's just my personal opinion, but you know, you can determine how much you want to save. But I think based on this that is left over, you can easily save 100 a month. And the more you save over time, the more comfortable you feel and prepared you feel for an emergency if it ever occurs. And then your fund budget, as I said, will be what is left over from that total. So then you're gonna have, for a fund budget, you'd have this minus your savings, 225 euros. So this is the financial overview that I managed to make based on this income of a student. But keep in mind also that everyone is different. So the fund budget that I might have here, you might even say, for example, oh, I feel like I could put more of this towards food or towards my savings. And that's literally a personal choice, and you can do that. But I feel like this here is a quite decent budget in order to live a normal life as a student and also to do stuff that you like to do. But you can't go out to eat at fancy restaurants, for example, and stuff like that, because that will literally damage your fund budget, right? But I do have tricks for that. So for example, in the Netherlands, there is something called Too Good To Go. I personally still use this at this point in my time, even though I'm not a student anymore. You can actually get food from restaurants for quite decent price, you know, but it's like at the end of the evening when the restaurant is about to close. So for example, what someone would pay at a restaurant 25 euros for, I get like for 5 euros. So this is actually a good option if you actually want to eat out or get food from a restaurant at an affordable price, especially as a student. It's very convenient. And you should actually find these kind of tricks in order to maneuver your way around saving money, so you can actually save money. I hope this budget is actually a bit clear to you guys and that it can help you guys also want to apply something like this for yourself. I think a budget is very important and it's something that you should keep track of. So guys, that was my approach to how I would have budgeted that amount of money as a student. And while I was doing that, I was just reminiscing on when I was a student and how me and my best friend would share a lot of expenses and how we would go grocery shopping together, how we would cook for each other, and we use that as a way to save money. That's also a good idea if you have someone to do that with. But remember that this is actually my personal approach, and I would recommend it for a student, and eventually I think along your journey as a student, and also based on your geographical location, that you would also approach that differently. But it's a good concept and a good idea to approaching that. So I hope this helps you to make your own budget and also motivates you to follow that budget and to keep it consistent. And in that way, you can manage to save, and also you could train yourself for the future when you are actually earning more money and you already have the habit of budgeting and also making an overview of your money. So thank you for watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section. And until the next time, I am out.